The supply chain is the backbone of the economy, job creator, enabler of modern work and life, connector between supply and demand. When we compare the Logistics Performance Index of the World Bank with the Global Competitiveness Report of the World Economic Forum, we see better logistics make stronger economies. Also, there would be no humanitarian response without logistics and supply chain. The COVID-19 crisis started with a demand shock. In January 2020, Starbucks warned that its results would be hit after the company shut over 50% of their cafes in China. At the same time, Apple said that it had baked into its outlook uncertainty. The supply shock arrived in February 2020 in China, caused by a bundle of things: lockdown, health measures, lack of migrant workers, and simply because the people did not show up because they fear infection. Extensive commercial flight cancellations took about 50% of the capacity out of the air cargo market. The consequences are bottleneck and price hikes. Today, a 40-feet container equivalent filled with masks and gloves, averaging around 8 tons, is costing around $185,000 to be moved by air from Hong Kong to Europe. Supply shocks meet demand shocks. Containers are constantly arriving in the West, but the shops and malls are closed. Irrational behavior is also adding to the crisis. The consumer is part of the global supply and demand system. Constant panic buying leads to shortages in the supermarkets. Luckily, supply chains work and the shelves are refilled next morning. Sudden strict controls at the Polish border froze traffic, but more importantly, the supply of food and medical equipment and other goods needed in nations in lockdown. Companies that mapped their supply chains and drove digitization in the past are better off today. Digital tools allow work from home, but more importantly, for supply chain deconversion of manual, paper-heavy, linear supply chain processes into digital connected supply and demand systems. Internet of Things solutions provide the data for visibility and analytics, for early warning signals and predictions. Companies that run digital supply chains are in a position to monitor their shipments and track their assets to take targeted action when disruption appears. This is a moment of leadership. Lee Hsien Loong, Prime Minister of Singapore, says, "Panic and fear can cause more damage than the coronavirus. Countries that are prepared and governments that act with foresight and considerateness will manage this crisis. What is lacking is global coordination. But the international organizations that can establish global alignment, like the IMF, WTO, WHO, have been neglected and weakened over recent years. The lighthouse of global collaboration is the science community that is working globally, collectively, to find solutions to manage the crisis. Leadership, policies, technology. 3 decisive factors in today's situation. And we need knowledge. We need answers to the most burning questions. Are we really living in a warlike situation? What are the policies that work and which ones hinder? What is missing? And how does technology play out? And what does the data tell us? The answer to those questions will help us to build a better world, but most importantly, to avoid human tragedies, one we are experiencing now, and which are caused by our own choices, at least to a certain extent, by the way we are living and treating the planet.